Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
You mean to wish me a good morning, or do you mean that it is a good morning whether I want it or not?
Please go away. Let me speak for the love of God.
I want to put something to you, Ben. You're driving to KFC. You're just about to enter the drive-thru. Then a stranger calls and tells you there's a bomb under your seat. Do you keep driving? Do what he says? Or are you hell-bent on crispy strips? What's your, what do you do?
Well, if it's hot rod season, I'm getting those hot rods.
You can't beat a hot rod.
No bomb can beat a hot rod.
That scenario does not happen in the new Liam Neeson movie Retribution, but there's definitely a bomb under his seat.
Well, I mean, look, the reality is if I didn't know the number, I wouldn't answer the phone anyway.
That's true.
Especially if I was just about to go through the drive-thru, I'd be like, I'm not even checking that voicemail.
No.
It'd be all over for me. But at least I've done happy with those hot rods on my lips.
We have the director of that movie on the show.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes, welcome to Good Movie Monday, everybody. This is the weekly podcast dedicated to nerdy cinematic ramblings and KFC Go Buckets.
I was going to say, do you reckon he likes hot rods?
Yeah, I reckon. I mean, it's Liam Neeson. Does he like it any other way? Thanks for listening, everybody. My name's Glenn Cochran. I'm partial to an original Philip burger myself, but I did prefer them in the 80s before KFC fucked them up. They had different buns, they had just different texture, consistency.
I don't remember. Like, I remember as a kid, I used to love KFC corn. The corn on the cob.
You are mad.
You get it?
Absolutely.
But when I was a
mental.
kid, they were really like juicy and succulent cobs of corn. Now when you have it, it's a dried out husk that tastes gross.
You need to go to Red Rooster. Although they've cut them down in size too. So they take the half corn cob and then they slice it into 4.
Have you noticed? Have you noticed now that the large fries at KFC ain't as large as they used to be? It's all like the hot and spicy. I like to get myself a Zinger Stacker box meal of a lunch, and it comes with 2 pieces of that, a hot and spicy chicken or whatever it is, boneless chicken. The last 2 that I had, that they were the size of a 50-cent piece.
You know what? If anybody working at KFC, head office was listening to this podcast, they probably got excited, free publicity, and then we just shat all over them. So.
It is the worst ever.
Yeah. By the way, Ben Howig, how are you?
I'm good. I'm hating on KFC.
Yes. KFC, not a sponsor. But speaking
We
of
wouldn't take their filthy chicken money.
Kentucky Fried Chicken, right?
Yeah, we would.
Speaking of Kentucky, we have the guys from the Bonehead Weekly podcast on the show as well. They're going to come and take over the mic in a little bit.
They should record live at the original Kentucky Fried Chicken restaurant one episode.
Totally.
We could do a live link up.
We could.
Or if we went there, which is the trip, the Good Movie Monday road trip that we've always dreamed about.
Yep.
I'm going to Kentucky to Scarefest or Screamfest or whatever it is.
Yep.
That's how excited I am. I can't even remember the name. But then we would just record live in the old KFC.
Oh, that'd be a good time.
That'd be great.
We also have Jarrett Garner coming up on the show
We'd all have to dress up as Colonel Sanders.
from Monster Fest. He's going to be talking about what's hitting physical media this week, or what isn't.
as the case may be.
That's right. As I mentioned earlier, the director of Liam Neeson's new action thriller Retribution is on the show. His name's Nimród Antal, and he's the guy who also made Vacancy. We both love that one.
Love Vacancy.
Predators, Armored. He made the Metallica Through the Never film, which was fascinating. I like that one a lot.
You know who else likes KFC? Jarrett.
Yeah.
Jarrett loves KFC.
We all love KFC, mate.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, so we'll come back to that because I've definitely got more KFC banter on the agenda. But what's going on with you, Ben? What's news?
Just working hard. We're getting ready for the announcement for the rest of the program for Monster Fest, which isn't too far away, and
Looking forward.
locking down Red Rock West and Lord of Illusions for Umbrella, and working on a couple of new titles that they have yet to announce, and
Exciting.
just
Excellent there.
Yeah, how about you? What have you been up to?
Just working, lots of screenings and all that kind of jazz. We
Jazz.
Jazz. We all that Jazz. we caught a screening together. We might talk about that a little bit later on, I think. You did not come to one of the screenings with me, and it's a film I can say what I saw, but I can't talk about it. So Saw 10, I saw that.
You did see Saw 10.
And
Yes,
you'll have to listen to an upcoming show before I can actually reveal what I thought of that.
It was a weird time, and I realised that the only Saw film I've actually seen
Yeah.
is Spiral, which doesn't really count as
No.
a real Saw film.
No, because like arguably Jigsaw and Spiral, which were the previous two, kind of just derailed the franchise, if anything. So that's right. I remember going to Spiral with you, and you said you hadn't seen any.
I hadn't seen any.
Oh, I just thought you might have rectified that in the meantime.
No, I'm just. If I want to watch torture porn, I'll watch the Hostel movies.
Yeah, right. Okay.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't. Look, you would think that I'd be fine with the. Like, I don't mind I don't have a problem with the concept, and I don't have a problem with the gore or the violence or anything like that. It's just, I don't know. It just can't be fucked.
Fair enough. The first one you could at least give a go because that is.
If I'd have seen it at the time, it would have been great. But now that there's 10 of the fuckers...
The interesting thing is the first one was never a sort of a torture porn movie. Like, it was much more like a Seven, Silence of the Lambs type of procedural thriller.
But look, it's the same with Hellraiser.
Yeah.
I didn't watch any of those. I watched Hellraiser 3 and went, I don't need to ever watch any Hellraiser movie again. And then only recently I went back and watched Hellraiser. I'm like, it's pretty good.
Number one's fantastic.
But a completely different movie from Hellraiser 3.
Absolutely. It's a very simple film.
Yeah.
Very simple and basic and in concept. But the second one then is like a Nightmare on Elm Street.
But Pinhead's not really even in it that much.
No, he's not
in the
even.
first one.
Not
He's
even
not the main
Pinhead.
villain.
No.
Like, it's Frank.
Yeah. He's just he's a servant.
And the woman, yeah.
He's a servant that comes along, you know.
Yeah.
Even in the book, he's barely in it.
Yeah.
Anyway, there we go. Where can people find us, Ben?
They can find us on all the social medias.
Absolutely.
We're on all of them. TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. Are we on X?
We're on X, but it's more just the episodes every week automatically go there. We don't go out of our way to post.
And are we prognosticating the end of the earth on Threads?
Well, that died in the water.
That died in the water.
1 week after it started.
I still get notifications that people are following me on Threads.
Yeah, right.
I'm like,
Okay.
oh, are they? I'm not following them.
No, it's the whole like globally that thing just died.
Just died.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
I think it needs to be rediscovered by like a niche group of like incels or something, and then it will,
Yes.
or the alt right. Or neo-Nazi. Like
they've got their platforms.
Yeah, but that's what it needs. It needs some fringe group.
That's what it needs.
Yeah, and then to build it up, start small.
Because once they're on there, then come the haters, like the opposition. Then back to Twitter.
That's right. But you can also find us at goodmoviemonday.com.
That's the one, and from there you can actually find your way to all those social media platforms. So that was a big waste of time.
Yeah, that's my middle name.
Yeah, but YouTube as well. We do drop videos all through the week. Most nights we have a different video. Some of them segments from this show, some of them else or others. We have another podcast, Wednesday Up Late, that I record with Chloe. That has a video every week. Go check it out, everyone. And there endeth the intro. Dun, dun, dun.
When are we going to talk about movies, Glenn?
Go to newsly.me, download the Newsly app and start listening to Good Movie Monday the right way. Newsly is the super app that lets you listen to all of the podcasts that you love, but they also have all of the news from around the world, all of the highest trending articles from over 80 different countries they put into the palm of your hand depending on your own search criteria. So whether that's movies that you love, you might be into politics, you might be into sports, whatever it is, they will have you covered. And because they love us, they have a special offer for all of our listeners, that being you. So go to newsly.me, download the app now, use our exclusive code, which is Monday without the O, MNDAY, and you can get an entire month of their premium service, which offers you a whole lot more. Go to newsly.me, the code is Monday without the O, start listening the right way. All right, so we've got Jarrett here, and look, guys, I've done the liberty of having a cheeky look at what's coming out this week. So, Jarrett, it was great having you. We'll see you next week, mate.
Next time, gentlemen. Until then, stay physical. No, it really is one of those weeks, like literally nothing. I can't even talk about that DVD format because there's nothing even coming out on DVD this week. It's a bit unusual, and I've got no reason as to why nothing's coming out. I mean, there's so many titles coming out this month. I think they could have just like spread them out a bit, but
And that means no reason to be here.
Pretty much, but I do have news. I did bring news. I never come empty-handed, gentlemen. So I do have some news.
Awesome. What were you going to say, Ben?
I'm going to say it's just a searing indictment on the state of physical media.
Yes, but you know what's funny? I was on the phone with I won't name names, and because I might say some things. And anyway, it's someone that works for a distributor, and they're a production manager. It wasn't Ben, by the way, at a label, and they had said it feels like it's a new dawn of physical media, and particularly locally, because despite there not being that many retailers for physical media, at least in the physical marketplace. I mean, online, sure, you've got Sanity and Easy DVD as well as the others. There is a renewed interest among those specialist retailers with the physical media, and now they're giving these independent labels more attention, and it feels like a bit of changing of the tides. And so we may see distributors come and go. Oh, and they actually did confirm to me about the fact that, yes, the Universal Sony product is going to move to not Pinnacle, but to All Interactive Distribution, which is essentially the same company. They own Pinnacle. And that is happening, and the handover will happen early next year, but effectively it won't change anything. It may even increase the amount of output, because as Universal, Sony, and Paramount all unwind on a home end and go through, this third party for distribution, they'll be able to concentrate more on those titles.
Not to mention, I think
actually see some more
this week as well is a little bit misleading, because last week they just dumped a shit ton on us. It's like they could have just stretched it out, and just had something each week,
Absolutely. I mean, even Viavision last week, we had release, and we've got more releases for them next week. So they've sort of spread it out over the course of that period as well. So, yeah, look, I don't think it's an indictment of what's to come. I think, it's an exciting and unusual era that we're entering. And if anything, labels like Umbrella and Viavision are now sort of thriving more with the collector market and producing these incredible editions that are world class in terms of being able to, not only acquire titles that are hard to find globally, but then actually go all out with these special editions and commission, interviews with these filmmakers and whomever overseas. Obviously, it's tough at the moment trying to get any actors to talk or writers to talk about films if they're SAG members or WAG members or whatever.
But did you hear that?
Be SAG members.
Did you hear that, Ben? World class, and you're responsible for some of those, mate. Proud.
Bloody oath, yeah.
I was going to say it's just in time too, because the manufacturing costs have jumped up by about 15% over the last couple of months. So
well, I'm sure the consumers won't mind paying 15% more. It just means they may actually have to support the releases the week of their release rather than waiting for the next 20% off sale at a retailer or something like that. Yeah. I think that if anything, that's something that we should try and reinforce out there. It's like, it's great to get a bargain. I'm all about getting a good deal. But at the end of the day, if you want to continue to see these great releases, we've got to support them and got to get out there and support them within like at least the first 3 to 4 weeks of its release. That's just to show that the market's there. And that way that more money is going back to the distributor. And at the same time, there's more money going in the pocket of the retailer. Everyone wins.
And there's only so many sniper movies they can make, to keep
exactly. Well, who knows? Now when the Sony catalog moves over for distribution through All Interactive next year, we may actually see some of those sniper movies come out on Blu-ray. They might do like they did with the Tremors pack. They might do a Blu-ray pack of all those sniper films. So get excited. But anyway, I have some news, gentlemen. New date. This one I was waiting for a release date, and the release date's been assigned, and that's for Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. Now it's coming out November 1st, so it isn't too far away, but considering when it released theatrically as to its home entertainment date, it's a decent stretch of time, and it's good to see a little of a window return, and I'm happy because it allowed me to save up a little bit more cash before I splash out and probably a steelbook or something of that nature for this title. And they've gone all out with the special features as well. They're not holding back. It's got a commentary, it's got like 7 featurettes, and they're actually really good featurettes, including one about the editing of the film, deleted scenes. So it's a decent package, and of course the 4K Ultra HD will have that much coveted audio format, Dolby Atmos. So I'm excited about that one. I really enjoyed it. Saw it twice theatrically.
That
Bit
is
of a rare treat.
That's another one that I've got interviews in the bank, and I'm hoping we can get them on the show. That'd be fantastic.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Would Simon Pegg be at all among them?
Yep,
Oh,
indeed.
wow.
Haley Atwell,
Definitely.
Christopher McQuarrie, and
Oh my god, yeah.
Tom. That's how I say her name.
Oh no,
no Tommy
excellent.
Cruise, unfortunately. No Tommy Cruise.
He was in Melbourne, which is where I am, while I was in Sydney. So
Bugger.
we
You
just
know, he's
crossed paths. We crossed paths, you know.
probably hanging out with the biggest catfish of the Yarra, I imagine. But who knows? Who knows? Anyway, some other news, gentlemen. Field of Dreams is coming out locally on 4K. Now, this title has already been released in the States on 4K, but never got a local release through Universal. Well, Viavision have licensed it, and they're going to release it on 4K. But they're also going to put the Blu-ray in there, which means we'll get all the special feature content. In the past, they haven't done that with some of the library titles, like Blues Brothers and Almost Famous, so we've missed out on some of that extra content. In this instance, we're not going to, and I mean, it's a terrific title, so it's great that it's actually getting a local 4K release.
Mm-hmm.
Other news, To Kill a Mockingbird, another title Universal didn't release locally last year. I think what would it have been? It's like 70th anniversary? Something like that?
Yeah, maybe 70.
I think maybe 70, yeah. Anyway, that one's going to get a release through Viavision on 4K. Only 4K, I believe, no Blu-ray component, but I'm not 100% sure whether maybe all the special features could be on the 4K, because that has happened in the past. But that's coming out the same date on November 15th, so that's exciting. Then further to some news that I delivered, I think, last week with regards to the Equalizer 3. Happy to confirm that's going to be 4K Blu-ray and DVD, so it is getting a 4K release. And I don't know if the first one definitely hasn't had a 4K release, but I don't know if it's still in circulation locally. It was a roadshow title, and some of those
I think it's
roadshow
disappeared.
titles, along with John Wick #1, which the local release seems to go for a pretty penny because it's well out of print also. So yeah, who knows? Maybe I'd love to say they'd release a triple pack, that Sony might pick it up and put it out as a 3-pack, but I don't know. I think those days are kind of past. But on that date, also a new title that's coming out, recently opened theatrically, and that's December 13th, is My Big Fat Greek Wedding Part 3, which I'm very happy to report they will be porting that beautiful Photoshop theatrical key art to the home entertainment release.
Whoa, what a shocker that was.
Might look more convincing on a smaller cover, I don't know. But yeah, it was just, I don't know how that happened. Clearly no one's head looked like it belonged on anyone's body, and they didn't belong in the one place. It was just...
I'm just shocked that it took them so long to make Part 3. Like, it was clearly the sequel that everybody wanted, loudly demanded, and the studios just said, no, we're not going to do it. And then finally they capitulated.
I'm curious to see it. I actually saw the second one at the drive-in when it came out. I'm keen to see the third. I like to think they waited because it got a good script. I'd like to think that.
I think it all comes down to Nina Vardalos. Like, I think she's the one that calls the shots here. Like, and maybe she was just not
the Hollywood powerhouse that is Nina Vardalos.
Well, she is in the Greek world.
she might be. She knows her market, and she might be treating it like an old school Star Wars kind of event rather than a Disney Star Wars event. So she's pacing them out, because nobody's calling to ask about doing a sequel to My Life's in Ruins. So
maybe
she's like,
maybe they had to wait for Greece to get out of their economic doldrums.
True. Yeah. And then they managed to just get in there before the flash fires and everything that's happened.
Well, they were just holding out for the old guy to die, because maybe he was keeping them back.
It's true. He wanted more coin because he was going to give it to his grandchildren's college tuition or something.
Or they lost their Windex sponsorship. I don't know.
Yeah. But did you see this one, Glenn? Out of curiosity,
no. There was a media screening that I only discovered after the fact. Like, I'm like, what? It's just, you know how now they're just being very selective on who they invite to some of these things?
Of course. Well, that's definitely one they wanted to get influencers along to.
Clearly, they didn't realize how much I actually love the Greek Wedding franchise.
Yeah,
I do.
Absolutely.
We spoke to Lewis Mandalore about it. Like, I was on fucking
Don't
board
say
from
we.
day one.
Don't say we.
We as in Good Movie Monday.
Yeah, you.
Well, we
about
the
it.
show. Collective.
That's right. I do recall the interview because I think you mentioned it at a point in time, and he was sort of sworn to a bit of secrecy. And
he was, because clearly they'd filmed it at that point, because it wasn't that long ago. Yeah. Anyway.
Damn these celebrities,
We're the
so
only
good
ones-
at
we're the-
keeping
we're the
keeping
only
to
ones
their
talking about it.
NDAs.
We're the only
Yeah,
ones
true, exactly. And we didn't even get an invite to the
Yeah.
media screen. Admittedly, I might have. I just probably didn't notice because it was, yeah.
But that poster art you're talking about, like it's obviously mimicking the design of the first two, which
Yeah,
were
yeah.
good. They got it right. How do you have like a template to work off and still get it wrong?
I know, it's
Maybe
crazy.
maybe if they did it over COVID, maybe they just couldn't get everyone in the room at the same time. Through
Yeah.
because of
I'm
social.
I'm
social
sure you
distancing
could
and
put
all
that into the AI machine, right? And I sound like an old man, but you put it through one of those AI programs and you could come up with something better than that. Admittedly, it might have a secret penis in it or something of an old school Disney cover nature, but that's just even a better treat. It gives you something to look at, like where's Wally literally? Oh, there it is. It's between Nina's legs. That shouldn't be there.
It's holding it at the back of the image. Remember?
Yeah.
Maybe they could take the unusual step of making the actors look like they actually do in real life.
Yeah, true. That would be, yeah.
I mean,
that would.
yeah, none of them would really stand for that. I think it's probably in their contract that they.
Yeah, that's not going to get a My Big Fat Greek Wedding #4 in 2030 when we can anticipate it. If everyone's looking at
And, like,
Three's poster and going,
yeah.
geez, they look bad. I can't imagine what they look like now.
I haven't seen it, but just going off the trailer, doesn't it just look like John Corbett's just tagging along for the ride? Like,
Yeah,
just
absolutely. It feels like that's his career at the moment, though, really, doesn't it? Because that TV series, whatever the new Sex and the City series is.
Yeah.
And, people are disappointed he wasn't in it or in it enough, and then they put him in it, but then they say that he's a useless character and he's just really there for a bit of, scenery and just to fill a tiny void or whatnot. And that feels like it's, long gone are the days of Chris from Northern Exposure, and I yearn for the Northern Exposure revival and bring Chris back because he was fucking cool. He was a cool ass character.
Well, he was cool in the first Greek Wedding.
Definitely. But yeah, now he's part of the furniture. So what can you do? But anyway, gentlemen, that is all the news. So despite the fact that there is not one single release hitting home entertainment this week, we have still managed to have a great conversation. And who would have thought it would end on My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3?
I know. Just bring on.
The only podcast in the world that's having this conversation.
Howdy, folks. Australia Day is a great national holiday, so why don't you relax and enjoy it? You'll enjoy it more, though, if you include my Kentucky Fried Chicken.
The show is called Good Movie Monday, Glenn.
It is.
But for a long time, I've been advocating
Oh, no.
for a follow-up podcast called Terrific TV Tuesday, so we can talk about TV.
All you've got to do is start it.
And that's that's why it hasn't been started.
I've not been opposed to it at all.
No, you've just been opposed to me talking about TV on this show.
That's right.
Which is really, that's all the bandwidth I have. And that's what I want to do in this segment.
I would love to see a terrific TV Tuesday or hear a terrific TV Tuesday. I'd love to be part of it.
It would be great. It would be. We could just record it back to back with this.
You're just looking for the easy way
to
out.
make it an extra long night, and or morning, I should say. We'll get up at 4 a.m. No editing, just straight onto the record it live.
Live, and you can be part of it, people.
And you can phone in, but just be warned, I will not be answering my phone during the show, so you just be wasting your time. But no, totally phone in.
Well, that's when we find out how many listeners we really have.
Yeah, that's right.
A whole bunch of crickets.
The true fans.
So what are you getting at here?
But I'm getting at that. I'm going to talk about TV in this segment. Do you watch a lot of TV?
I watch TV, but not a lot of TV. It's very hard for me to commit to a
understand.
show.
Right. Okay.
Having said that, spoiler alert, you did prep me for this. I did know you were going to be talking about TV. So I went back and looked at stuff I've watched over the last 2 years. And I've watched a lot more than I thought I'd watched.
It's pervasive.
Yes.
Thanks to streaming platforms.
But there's
TV
a lot I haven't seen. There's a lot I haven't watched. That I hate it when people tell you must watch this show. It's like, well, yeah, but I really want to watch this one.
Yeah. I mean, that's funny because we're going to talk about shows you must watch right now.
Everybody,
I demand
strap
it.
in. Strap in.
No, I've just been watching a lot of shows lately that have just been great.
Yeah.
And it is disappointing now. It's actually quite painful because most of those shows are continuing on. They have been renewed for new seasons, but because of the strike,
Yeah.
they're not going to happen until 2024, 2025 now.
Yep.
And that's a long time to wait between. I mean, you virtually have to start again. There's shows that I was big into, like Beast, which I know you love, on Disney Plus.
Yep.
It was just a little too long.
Yeah.
And now I can't remember what happened, and I have to go back and watch the first season again.
Hang on, Beast or the Bear?
The Bear. Sorry, the Bear.
Yep.
Okay, that's how long it's been.
Let me tell you how I watch TV shows, and the reason I don't watch a lot of them is because I just reserve one episode a night of something before I go to bed. That's how I watch TV. I don't binge television like a lot of people do. I don't know how people can do that. I just really haven't got it in me. But like I've got it gets to, I don't know, maybe 1 o'clock in the morning, which is round about when I think of going to bed. It's like, ooh, let's watch something. So something like The Bear, which is like 25-minute or 30-minute episodes, perfect.
Yes, I mean, I do a similar thing. I like to watch something while I'm having breakfast in the morning. Mm-hmm. I like to put on a show.
It's a good way to do it.
Put on a show for anyone watching. I'm usually not wearing clothes, dancing around my living room, and then I like to put on a TV show. And like I've been watching some great ones. Like there's some great British ones that I thought I'd talk about.
I knew you'd go British.
I mean, look, there's great American ones too, but there's a couple of. What I love about the British shows is that they've always been true to the 6-episode format.
Yes.
Or 8 episodes.
Yeah, that's how I like it.
The Americans are starting to come around because they spend so much money on an episode. I tell you what, it is incredibly hard watching a show like Star Trek, Strange New Worlds or Brave New Worlds, whatever it is. Because if you watch a lot of Star Trek, you're used to 7 seasons, each with 22 to 24 episodes a season.
Yep.
This one, it's 10 episodes a season, and you get to the mid-season part, and you're like, oh, it's over.
Same with Picard.
It's over for a year. Picard as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Picard, I don't even know if they had enough story to cover those 10 episodes, let alone...
There's 2 lots of 10.
There's 3. There's
yeah.
3 seasons of it, but I was a bit dubious.
I did do the first season, I must admit. Like, it's the first Star Trek TV series I've committed to.
I did like it, but then watch even the animated ones like Lower Decks and stuff like that. They're actually I found to be much more entertaining than Picard. But I watched this. There's a great British series that may have slipped past a lot of people's notice called Zomboat.
Right,
It's
heard
on
of this.
Stan.
Yep.
It is. It's these 2 girls escape a zombie apocalypse on their canal boat, and their canal boat goes. And I say just, I mean just faster than the shambling zombies.
That's a great concept.
It's hilarious. It's a great, like they're 2, kind of, British, what are they, chavs?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. It's great.
Excellent.
And then I followed that one up with one on Disney Plus called Extraordinary or Extraordinary.
Yep.
And it's like set in this world where everyone has superpowers, and they've all got some of them have traditional, I can fly or have super strength or can turn invisible or shape change. But then other ones just have stupid powers. Like this one guy is like a 3D photocopy. You can shit out any object that you want. He literally has to squat and do a shit.
That's excellent.
But, he's just like, nothing too big.
Or wide.
Yeah. There's a lot of rules and stuff. Yeah, and then there's the show focuses on this one girl who is 26 and you get your powers at 18. She has not developed any powers, and she's like the only one, and everyone kind of treats her like a...
This is a very good concept. I like it.
Yeah,
Because I don't like superpower type of shows.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, there's no... Like, her housemate's boyfriend decides he wants to start a vigilante group of... But they're all like useless superheroes in this group because no one kind of does it. Everyone has superpowers, so no one is a superhero or a supervillain. But he develops this. He gets this posse together of kind of useless people. One guy, he can summon ocean creatures.
Yep.
But they're like in London, so when it takes a while for the sea creature to get there. And it's just like a fish in the face kind of thing.
I might have to give that a shot.
And then there's one
Fish in
girl,
the face.
she's just a magnet.
Yeah.
She's like a human magnet. It doesn't work all the time, but when it does happen, you'll know it. And then he kind of turns away and he looks back and she's just covered in paper clips and stuff.
It reminds me, they should have done like a TV show of Mystery Men. Remember the Invisible Boy? You got to look away from him to be invisible.
When I get angry, I get really strong. I dig well. What a great.
Yeah. The spleen. He who doubted smelt it, dealt it. Great stuff.
Pull my finger. Don't pull his finger.
All right, I'll let you go through a few more. How about I just reel off some names of shows I've watched, and if any of them take your fancy, we can stop and talk, and then come back to yours. So The Bear, obviously, I think is probably the best one I've seen in a long time. Julia is one we both watched.
Yes.
That is one I almost binged. Like, I do maybe 2 or 3 episodes at once, and that was compelling. Blackbird, which is fantastic, with Taron Egerton and that Paul Watsonhausen or whatever his name
I
is.
always get that mixed up with the Underground Railroad series with Ethan Hawke.
No, I don't know what that's called, but this is the one about the prisoners, the murderer who figured out how to get away with murder by confessing to every other murder. So the police end up going, well, he couldn't have done it. He confesses to everything. Yeah, right. And it's a true story. And then Taron Egerton has to go in and elicit a confession on the condition, like, if you get the confession out of him, you walk free. The choice was to stay in minimum security with comfort for the rest of his term, or go to hardcore prison, maximum security, and get this confession.
Federal pound me in the ass prison.
So that's a great show. Yellowstone, obviously, although that wore off a little bit, it still hasn't finished, and whether it will is another thing.
It comes in like all shows that have been going as long as Yellowstone have been going. It kind of ebbs and flows, and now
has its own universe with like 100 other shows that are attached to it, and there's heaps more coming. I think the Matthew McConaughey's taking over Yellowstone in the new series as the lead character. So there's that. Obviously, Cobra Kai, Stranger Things. I really enjoyed those. Mosquito Coast. That's the one that hit me. I loved it. 2 seasons, and they cancelled it before they got to the Mosquito Coast. It's like, come on, because like I liked the journey, how they got from America, because it's different from the other movie and the book. They really fleshed it out. And so it was a big chase across America into South America. You know, the feds are after them.
Yeah.
But we didn't get to the Mosquito Coast. We almost got there, and then they just pulled the plug on it. It was such a good show.
They just didn't have the budget for all those mosquitoes.
I loved Big Little Lies. That was good.
Oh, I didn't watch that.
9 Perfect Strangers, same makers. A couple more. Top of the Lake. Really enjoyed that. That's the New Zealand show. Jane Campion, I think, was the one that created that. Had Elizabeth Moss.
Oh, yeah.
And our old mate Clayton Jacobson in season 2.
Lovely.
And Kim Ginchel in season 2. Fantastic. Mayor of Easttown was incredible. That's the one with Kate Winslet.
Yes.
That's one of the best. I don't know. Would you call it a murder mystery? I think you would. It's kind of a modern whodunit.
Yeah, it's kind of. It's like a lot of those.
Yeah, that was fantastic. And then I'll just end on an Aussie one with Travis Fimmel called Black Snow. Really enjoyed that one too. Which is all about it. It's about a murder up in Queensland in the cane country. Yeah, cane sugar country. And he's fantastic. Travis Fimmel, like, he's got such a presence on screen. And what's he from? Sons of Anarchy, I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for him to come and do this
There's
Aussie
a new
show.
Sons of Anarchy spin-off that's on now.
There's been a few. There was the Mayans and...
The Mayans MC.
Yeah.
Which I watched the first episode of the other day, and I was like,
I've got no time for
I can take or leave it.
I didn't even like Sons of Anarchy, to be honest with you.
No.
Yeah.
There's one that I think that you would really like. I think it's on Paramount Plus, which you can get through Prime, called The Mayor of Kingstown.
Yes, I've been dying to watch this. I've not only been recommended it, but I've seen people talking about it on various social media platforms.
It is great. I haven't checked out the second season yet, but it does star Emma Laird. I think that's the first thing I ever saw Emma Laird in, and she pops up in one of the movies that we're going to talk about later.
Yeah.
She is a revelation. This girl,
yeah,
totally unexpected, and she's kind of like this kind of catfish character who works for the mob, and she's so good in this show. I did watch I finally got around to. I thought I'd watched all of Justified. As it turned out, I had not watched the 7th season, so I caught up on the 7th season. Watched that, it was great, and then I jumped straight in, and that was so good. I jumped into Justified, Primal City.
Oh, yep.
Which is also great. It's a bit, it's not quite as good as Justified, mainly because of the support characters in this season aren't as good, despite it including people like. Hang on, I'm going to get this wrong. It's either Keith David or David Keith, the one from It, from the Thing.
Yep.
David Keith?
Let's go with that.
Yeah, he's in it, and I'm trying to think who else. But it's, David Koechner pops up in it.
I really enjoyed that show. My problem with shows like that, when I'm starting, if I see there's 7 seasons for me to get through from the beginning, And like that's what puts me off. It's like I just haven't got the time.
That's what I love because it means I like to get
He's
into a
that
show.
leg, so yeah.
I mean, it backfired on me with Lost because they
Classic
changed
example.
they changed it around so often the times, and I missed. I was like, okay, I'm just going to wait till it finishes, then I can binge watch the whole show.
Yep.
I bought all the box sets. I have never gone back to binge it.
Tell you what show never let me down. They only did 3 seasons, and I wish we'd get more. Was Broadchurch. I think that's one of the best fucking murder mysteries of all time.
I will say I didn't have much interest in. That's David Tennant, isn't it?
Yeah, and Olivia Colman.
And Olivia Colman. I didn't have that much interest in watching Broadchurch. And then I think on YouTube I saw David Tennant doing this thing with all the cast and crew of
Singing
the Proclaimers 500 miles.
He does it
And I
on
was
every production he's on.
Yeah, right.
So there's Doctor Who ones, and yeah.
He's a big fan of that song.
Yeah, and every production he's ever worked on, he has those videos.
Yeah, right.
But that was just a really powerful show, and like it, you wonder after the first one, we know the outcome, like who the killer is. How could they possibly build on that? And they do somehow. And then the third season is a whole new story that is just as powerful. Like, yeah, good
And
stuff.
it's all just going on in the town of Broadchurch. Is it a town?
It is.
Yeah. Like Mount Thomas, Crown Capital.
Well, there's only really 2 crimes that take place in this 3 seasons, right? So it's not like a Mount Thomas situation.
They don't have 3 other unsolved cases that they're also working on at the same time, like real police.
No, there's other police.
They just get to focus on
Well,
one crime.
David
for the
Tennant floats
entire-
into town like he's an outsider, and then for season 2, he decides to live there. So it's sort of about his assimilation into.
Did I ever tell you about my idea for a movie? It was a surfer western, where the man with no name surfs into the beach.
Amazing.
That's how he gets. That's how he.
Well,
he
this
just
is
turns up like in a poncho, but he's on a surfboard.
Well, this is the thing. That's fantastic because if you think about it, every period piece movie or every moment in history that's been depicted on film, there's always been beaches.
Yeah,
Everyone,
there.
and there's always been wood. You can surf.
That's right.
Surfing Vikings.
Well, that's what surfing. No, okay, I want to say that one because that might be a real one. But yeah, you could totally like anything. I had this great idea. I had this great idea for a movie that was basically a Valkyrie, Viking Valkyrie time travel movie where they, the Romans are kind of closing in and are they've been cut off from the rest of the Vikings, this small tribe of Valkyrie kind of thing, and so their shaman sends them into the future to get to find allies, and basically they end up in a western kind of town, in like a western town, like a desert town in Middle America, USA,
Mate.
where they run into like a motorcycle gang who they kind of beat the shit out of, and it turns out that they're part of like a local kind of crazy militia. And then they help the townspeople destroy the militia who are like like a what do you call it, like a Magnificent Seven type gang that are harassing this town, and then they take the weapons back.
Amazing.
To the past, use it and it changes history.
You should do this because I know that Jeff Burr would love to direct that.
Yeah. I want Nimród to tell.
He'd be good at it too.
He'd be great.
I do love him as a director, and let's push on because that's coming up. Thanks for the segue.
No worries. I totally did.
Does that make you feel
I love playing music on this show, Ben. Kind of sets us apart from the rest, don't you reckon?
I think it does.
You can catch all of the music. If you love what you do here on this show, it's on a playlist on Spotify. Go check it out.
So how many hours is that playlist?
We're about 20 hours now.
20 hours.
Yeah, so Good Movie Monday, The Music. Look that up.
That's a playlist that you listen to if you're flying from Perth to Heathrow Airport.
And what a mixed bag it is.
Yeah.
It is a real mixed bag. Anyway, so that song we just played was Blue Eyes Woman by The Go from the soundtrack to Armored, which is the Nimród Antal heisty kind of movie. It's a bit like Wrath of Man, you know, the Guy Ritchie film.
I do.
I loved it. Like it really tanked at the box office, but I thought it was great. It had Matt Dillon and Lawrence Fishburne. It was just brutal.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking about Wrath of Man.
No,
they
Armored.
were not in that film.
Armored. But it feels like Wrath of Man. The action in it's very similar. It's all, you know, that real high tension armor.
Well,
armored
Wrath of
vehicle
Man
stuff.
is a remake of a French movie called Bank Heist or Bank Truck.
Funny you say that because I think it was called Money Truck or
Money
something
Truck.
like that. Funny you say that because Retribution, the new Liam Neeson movie that Nimród directed, is also a remake. But get this, it's a remake of a 2015 Spanish film, which was then remade into a German film in 2018, which was then remade into a Korean film in 2021, which is now the Americans are having a crack and it's remade for us.
Well, I mean, look, it's true what William Friedkin, Friedkin was famous to complain about, you're remaking Wages of Fear with Sorcerer. And he said, no, this is just William Friedkin's production of
Yeah, that's right.
Wages of Fear.
Totally. And I mean, I haven't seen the other movies and I don't really need to because I watched this one as a standalone and I enjoyed it.
But if you enjoyed it, why wouldn't you then go back for some, same but different entertainment?
Well, I
by
may.
watching
I
the
think
original?
the first the Spanish one is the one that looks very, very similar. Like I think this one is just just the same thing but with an American sort of device. But I did love it. What I liked most about this, and as we alluded to at the start of the show, it is about Liam Neeson being in a car with a bomb under the seat and has to do what the voice down the telephone tells him. And the I guess the
Does he verify that the bomb is in fact there, or is
yes,
that the
he
plot
does.
of it?
No, he does. The stakes are high because he's got his children in the back seat, which is
And they
amplifies it.
obviously can't get out.
They can't get out either. Everything he does
It's
is
like
being
Speed.
watched. Yeah, it
It's
is very
Speed.
much like Speed. But it's really tense. And what I loved the most is that Liam Neeson's character has no skills in this. He's very vulnerable, so it's against type. He's not even. He's a wuss. He's a real wuss.
I have a lack of any skills.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know who you are.
I don't know who you are. I don't know where you're calling from, and I have absolutely no skills available to track you down.
That's right. That is really where this film comes from to
I
begin
will
with.
not find you, and I will not kill you.
That's right. Do your best.
Do your best. Just end it now.
So I was lucky enough to catch up with Antal last week and had a fantastic conversation, which you're about to hear. But I want to say that I was not blowing smoke up this guy's ass. I am genuinely fanboying over him. I love his work.
My question is, Glenn, I have not listened to this interview yet.
Yeah.
Did you ask him about Liam Neeson pissing his pants in all those photos? And whether or not it's like a internet fraud, like a fraudulent prank?
Well, that's
Or
why
is it legit?
that's why he pisses himself all the way through the movie.
Yeah, right. They just happen to catch him at the end of the day.
Hello?
There is a bomb under your seat. I will detonate.
What do you want? Money?
Dad, what are you doing?
I will get you out. Hand it!
You know what? The second I saw your name pop up as an interview opportunity, I had to jump at the chance. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, I have been a keen admirer
of all of your work ever since like Control, and yeah,
I've been,
really
getting my,
chuffed to be chatting.
I've been getting my butt kicked, so I do appreciate getting that kind of energy. Thank you.
Oh no, well you're welcome. I sincerely mean it. I came up through the video stores. I used to own one, and so your movies were the type of movies that I would always recommend. I think you've got a very specific style or look to your films. How would you describe your style?
It's interesting because I started Control writing a script and directing it, and that was something that I wanted to keep doing. My journey has kind of led me down a different path of late, where I'm more of a gun for hire, and I've been asked to direct existing screenplays, and it's a schizophrenic thing because on one hand, I do want to get back to writing my own scripts and directing those films. That's something that I feel I would be better at. I do love the challenge of taking on other stories at the same time. And I've managed to raise a family making films, which is a miracle in itself. But, you know, a lot of times I'm not in the position of some of the cool kids where, you know, a reporter would ask, like, why did you decide to go down this path? And sometimes it's simply, those were the opportunities that were presenting themselves at the time. And it's not as planned out as some people think. You know, sometimes you take what's given and you try to make the best of it. And I'd like to remind people of that, because this concept of the auteur deciding how his career will be, or her career will be formed, it's just not a reality in this day and age. Very few people are afforded the luxury of doing what I dream to do, which is to shoot my own scripts. And that doesn't happen for everybody. So I'm going to get there. It's just taking a bit of I'm taking a bit.
Yeah, well, you know what? Like, I can look at a movie and guess that it's yours. Like, I love that about your work. Like, there's definitely a style. And before we jump into Retribution, if I can just say, your movie Armored is a movie that I hold very special and near to me because my wife used to work as an armored truck driver. So we watched that together, and she looks at me and she goes, "That happens and that happens." And so I really love that movie. So I wanted to get that out there. Action movies are your jam, though. What makes a good action movie to you?
Yeah, it's funny you should say that, because though I do enjoy watching action, and I enjoy conceiving it. Like, I enjoy sitting down and trying to come up with cool stuff, but I hate shooting it. I'm always concerned someone's going to get hurt, and you know, action takes a lot of things to make it right. And one of it is you kind of have to go for it. You know, you can't really. I mean, we're faking it ultimately, but even faking it, you gotta have to go for it. And but I love stunt guys, and I'm always worried that they're going to get hurt or something. So for me, action's a strange thing. But when it's done and you're watching it, I love it. It's great when, you know, afterward. It's great before you have to do it, and it's great after you've done it. But while you're doing it, it's not fun.
You probably age a few years every time.
Yes, sir.
I feel like it's only been a matter of time before you and Liam Neeson ended up working together, and I reckon that Retribution is just relentless. I think it's his most action-packed movie for the past decade, which says a lot when you think about his work. Was there any hesitation when asked to direct a Studio Canal movie with Liam Neeson?
You know, clearly there's a lot of questions that come to mind. You know, he's made a few films. How are we going to do something that's different? And there's no real academic approach to it. It's an instinctual one. You're trying your best, given the confines of what you have, the space that you're functioning in, and given the tools that are at your disposal. So there's always a bit of a concern, but that concern actually could be for any movie, to be quite frank. You know, cinema has existed for 100 years. How we capture dialogue is you know, there's room to play around with it, and there's room to move, but you are trying to fall within a school that has existed for 100 years. And sometimes when you just do things for the sake of doing things, and they're not grounded in the story, or they're not related to the character, that stuff is what we call flash, and unspectacular flash, for that matter, right?
Right, yeah. I feel this too is like, for Liam Neeson, it's a very different kind of role. Although this is a a movie that people might expect him to be in, I don't think we've ever seen him in a vulnerable position like this, or at least not for a long time. And he has no skills, and I think that adds a great amount of unpredictability to this movie. Was his character always written that way, given his reputation?
Yeah, I was surprised that there was always a vulnerability in the character, and in modern day action films, you tend to see this paper thin kind of presentation of machismo, and the what makes a hero cool in my eyes is the struggle. It's not the ass kicking per se, but it's the challenges, and seeing Liam not only embrace the vulnerability, but really he knows how to play it in the most sincere way. I really was impressed by that, and I found that those elements were some of the most engaging in the film. Was the heartbreak and was the humanity of it.
Definitely, the drama is what elevates this movie for sure. I also love the ambiguity of his morality. That makes it unpredictable. Like, I certainly, at one point, I thought I knew where the movie was going. It definitely didn't go where I thought it would. So, like, even just to you, congratulations on being able to deliver what I would say is, a formula movie, and yet it is completely unpredictable.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. And yeah, I mean, it's a shame how we've lost a bit of that of late. It seems that but isn't that the Instagram world? I mean, isn't that the presentation of perfection and the presentation of happiness and the presentation of cool? And in most cases, it's lacking completely reality.
Yeah,
and
I feel like everything's...
I'm much more interested in a flawed person than I am in a pretty perfect person.
Everything feels sterilized at the moment, so I'm very much appreciating what you're doing here. And I think you were really lucky also just to get Jack Champion into this film, because I really feel like he is a star on the rise. He's going to be huge in a few years, and he's really good in this.
100%. And the kids, in a movie like this, it's tricky. It could really, they are the linchpin essentially, because if they're not working and if those roles aren't working, then given that they're in the car for so much of the film, that could have really been a challenge later on. But both with Jack, I mean, first of all, Jack, fantastic actor, super sweet human being. And same goes for Lily Aspel. Again, just really great, strong performances, and just really a wonderful, and this is usually in these kinds of scenarios, it's kind of status quo, just for a director to say what a wonderful cast he or her had. But I really have to sincerely tell you that Matthew Modine, Noma Dumezwini, the kids, Jack Champion, Lily Aspel, all of them were as gracious and as beautiful as Liam. So I really enjoyed working with them.
Well, that's fantastic to hear, particularly when the kids are, sharing the screen the entire time with him.
Yeah.
And
lifting.
Lily, particularly, actually, now you say that, like, her tiny little mannerisms really sold the family dynamic, I reckon. She sort of spoke for the family unit more than either of the others.
Very well put. Yeah.
And so, speaking of the drama, like, a lot of the action takes place in the car. Or I should say, the drama takes place in the car while the action happens around it. Where do you factor in when it comes to directing action and drama inside a car? Like, was the car stationary most of the time with the doors off? Was it in motion? How did that work?
It was a mix. So there were, for some of the more still, I mean, the car's always in motion, but you understand what I mean by, for some of the more still moments, we were capturing it in, it was a mixture. There was a few days of green screen even. There was a day or two of the more than a day or two. There was a few weeks of the volume, which is projected digital backgrounds essentially. And then we had process trailer, and then we had actual stunt driver on the roof or in the back of the car, and the actors with the car driving solo. So it was a bit of a mixed bag, but I storyboard everything, whether I'm talking about action, but I also storyboard dialogues, especially in a film with limited space as far as positions for camera. I'm trying to avoid redundancy in compositions. I'm trying to do a few things all at the same time, but it helps quite a bit. I mean, clearly with the action, the storyboards are a wonderful help. But even for the confined space, it proved to be a benefit.
Yeah, well, all of those factors combined, the augmentation was seamless. Like, you know, you wouldn't know from a viewer's perspective. Is shooting in a confined space tougher or easier for you? Do you prefer it?
I'm beginning to embrace limitations more and more.
Yeah,
I'm finding limitations to be actually a gift. It's like, oh, can't go that way, can't go that direction, because of whatever pragmatic reason is not allowing it to happen. So I actually embrace limitations, and I think that finding solutions within the parameters is always, it's challenging but rewarding as well.
Yeah, right. Does Liam Neeson rehearse?
No, so funny enough, Liam is one of those guys who really, I'm not a director who enjoys doing 10 takes on a glass of water being set down on the table. I generally am someone who thinks that if I don't have it within 3, maybe there's something I have to readjust. Of course, if you're doing a more dynamic shot or you're threading a needle with the camera and you're trying to do something very complex, sometimes focal length or anything could require you to do it a few times. And of course, we'll do it until we get it right. But generally, I think that you should have it within a limited amount of takes. The problem with Liam, if I could say it that way, the problem with Liam is he gets it on the first take. And then there I am, and it's perfect. The performance is rock solid. But I know that I'm going to have an editor screaming at me if I say, hey, we did it in 1. I'm always trying to give them at least 2 takes just so that they have some sort of opportunity to go, in a different direction if need be. But with Liam, really, he gets it in the first take, and then you have to consider what you're going to say next. And by the way, he's been in the business long enough that he can smell bull if it's bull. You can't come to him and go, that was great, 1 more. You have to give him something. And if you are giving him something, it better have meaning.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like whenever I watch him, he's kind of acting on the fly, which kind of is what you're going with there. How does that affect the other actors? Like, that must be a difficult thing for other actors to be bouncing off someone that's sort of, so in the moment.
It certainly focuses everybody. I mean, you certainly realize who you're dealing with. And it definitely puts focus to the day.
Excellent. So one thing I want to ask as well, another thing I really enjoy about your films is you often work in a very reliable sort of genre formula, but you always make them feel new and uncertain and interesting. I'm wondering what sort of films you look at for inspiration, particularly making Retribution. Are there any that you tap into, just sort of, I like what they did, or I like what they did, and sort of bring it together?
I mean, yes, and I'll often actually see films. I rarely feel like jealousy doesn't really play a part. If there is something similar to that, I would say it's more inspiration, where I'll see something that I'm just blown away by, and I say, man, I'd like to do something like that. So I find that it's generally inspiring for me when I see something that blows my mind, and it's interesting because as time goes on, it's more and more difficult, because especially now with the streaming services, there's an abundance of audiovisual content. And I always find it interesting for younger filmmakers, because on one hand, they have it much easier than some of the older generations. And on the other hand, they have it much harder, because in one respect, you can shoot your film and cut it now on your phone. I mean, you pretty much have all the technology needed to capture a story. But at the same time, there is now there's an ocean of content, most of which is absolutely trash. So trying to, having the opportunity to stand out among the ocean of trash is difficult for a lot of younger filmmakers, even if they do have the technology to capture the stories.
Yeah, for sure. Look, I'm going to have to wrap things up in a moment, but I want to ask you 2 final questions. One being, Liam Neeson's career has spanned decades, from The Bounty, Star Wars, Batman, all the way to A-Team. Do you have a favorite Liam Neeson movie?
I mean,
It's a hard one.
he wasn't leading the charge in that film, but I love Gangs of New York.
Oh, yeah.
I love Gangs of New York.
Good answer.
I'm sorry?
Good answer.
Yeah, but no, I mean, he's one of those guys, and I think the reason he's had so much success beyond the clear talent is he's just personable. He's someone that we can all relate to, and in so many of his films over and over again, regardless of the situations, he's always able to ground them and bring humanity to the role. And that's what I love about the guy.
Totally. Completely agree. And lastly, what sort of movies do you enjoy in your downtime?
It's always changing and shifting. I'm watching Better Call Saul right now, the last season, which I love. I loved Breaking Bad and all of that. I mean, you know, it's not the newest of films, but I thought Ex Machina was incredible. I mean, incredible. There's so many odd little films along the way. I'm forgetting things right now, but there's sometimes in my life where I'm more of a consumer of stories, and sometimes less so. I'm a bit less so right now because I'm trying to work on my own stuff, but
Sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of movies out there that I absolutely love and that I have great affection for. I loved Mandy. I saw Mandy not too long ago.
Oh, fantastic.
I loved Mandy. Talking about Nicolas Cage, Pig was great too.
Yep. I love getting nerdy with people, and they have some great films. But look, it's been a real thrill for me to be chatting with you. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you for your kind words too. It does mean a lot to me, man.
Well, I'm sincere. I really mean it. And like I said, the second your name popped up, I was excited. So thank you.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Welcome to Bonehead Weekly Fun Size, and today we're doing the Bat-Tusi. Yes,
nobody can see this because this is an audio format.
Well, I mean, some people watch Good Morning Movie Monday Morning Move on the videos. I'm assuming somebody in Australia has the TV. We're on TV in Australia, right?
Sure.
That's what he's been telling us. I've just been waiting for those checks.
It's Papua New Guinea. Don't tell Joe.
Okay. Oh, that's fine. At least I'm somewhere. Somebody is watching me. Now, the best dance sequence in movie history. What is it, gentlemen? May I go first?
That's not the best. It's our favorite. I just want to point that out because what I'm picking out is not the best. It's just my favorite.
No, we're talking about the best, and then we're going to fight to the death in a dance sequence with knives to prove it. Mine is very simple, very easy, and it is Patrick Bateman dancing to Hip to Be Square in American Psycho.
That's a good one.
That's a good one because it's
kind of concerning. You picked a man who isn't he naked and covered in blood?
No, he has the coat thing on.
Oh,
He puts it on so he doesn't get blood all over him. It's clear while he's talking about it. He puts it on.
Yeah,
right
it's clear. It's clear.
But he has clothes on under it.
Okay, he has clothes on. Okay, I remember.
And by the way, I don't have to defend myself to you. I think Christian Bale's a handsome man, and I want to have sex with him. and I dare you to refer to me as anything other than they and them.
Okay, no, I've got one. It's honestly, it may not be the best dance sequence of all time, but it's one that gets burned into your head. And that is, of course, Buffalo Bill dancing by himself to Goodbye Horses.
Goodbye Horses.
Man, gentlemen, you all have picked two that I never thought. I just didn't think this would go this way.
Well, I honestly, the Hip to Be Square thing is hilarious. And by the way, when Huey Lewis does it and Weird Al's there, that is also hilarious.
Yeah.
That's also good.
And the reason, Chad, I went with that was I was trying to think because so much is so close to dancing in films, right? Like choreography, fighting, all of that stuff. But you want a scene that burns its way into your brain and doesn't leave? Buffalo Bill dancing in. And also it's been mocked by Kevin Smith, all of that. You can't go wrong with Buffalo Bill for a dance scene.
I also want to have sex with him as well.
That's more about you, Joe. I don't think that's necessarily a cinematic thing, but go ahead, Chad.
It is when you shoot it in 2.40. Sorry, what was I talking about? Panavision.
So I want to talk about a dance sequence that I think has the perfect white man's overbite in cinema history.
There you go again, being exclusive.
I want to talk about Rosario Dawson in Clerks 2.
Oh no, it's hard for me to pay any attention to anything except for one thing. Well, a couple of things during that sequence.
So her dancing to, I believe the song is called Burgers of Love by the RSB in Clerks 2. I just she is so smooth in that dance sequence, and she's the only one doing anything while Brian O'Halloran, aka Dante, is just staring at her. And her dance sequence captivates you for I think it's only a minute long dance sequence.
As much as I love Clerks 2, it truly is, and she gives a fantastic performance.
Yeah, she captured it. Well,
the problem is
Randall.
The problem is the most unbelievable part in all those movies is that, and I've met Brian O'Halloran, he is the nicest guy, but that Rosario Dawson would end up pregnant with his baby.
Exactly.
I mean, I almost believe flat earthers before I believe that one.
But and by the way, for our listeners, if you haven't seen the minute-long clip of Rosario Dawson's dance sequence to Burgers of Love, YouTube it. I promise you, it's one of, people, when you think of dance sequences, I bet you would think we were going for these big spectacle musicals. Each one of us picked a solo dance.
We're all wanted to have sex with Patrick Bateman.
That's not true. I've had him. He's rubbish.
It's rubbish. He doesn't want him again. I want my turn. This has been Bonehead Weekly Funsies. Oh no, I said it.
You did. You did.
He said it.
It's official.
He said it.
Funsies. Those boneheads finger looking good, Ben.
Bloody oath.
Now,
Bloody ripper.
This is a
Bloody
funny thing. We're
unreal.
back onto the Kentucky talk here. Before you and I had any affiliation with Kentucky, people from Kentucky, that was what we called KFC. Even now, like if I was to say to you, let's get some Kentucky, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
You'd be like shotgun in a heartbeat.
It's still Kentucky Fried Chicken. They like to call themselves KFC.
But like, what I want to know is, like, do people living in Kentucky call it Kentucky? I'm going for some Kentucky.
Or is this like Brazil nuts in Brazil? They just call them nuts type.
I'm going for some fried chicken.
Yeah, I'm just going for.
But I mean, they've got Popeyes.
Kernels.
Yeah, they've got options for fried chicken. But I'm just wondering, like, we in Australia, if anyone was to say to me, "Let's get Kentucky," I know exactly what we're doing.
Yeah.
But would they know?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a question for them.
Boneheads, Chad, I should say, he listens.
He listens. But yeah, like I do wonder about that. But I wonder, are McDonald's going to change their name to Macca's?
Well, they have. There's some signs that have Macca's
Just
out the
have
front.
Macca's,
Yeah.
yeah.
But the Americans would know what we're talking about if we said Macca's.
Macca's, yeah.
It's very Aussie. Anyway, yeah, just wanted to get some more KFC talk in there. You never know, might pick up a sponsorship. Hot rods. Shit. Anyway, they were talking about dance sequences in that segment. Interesting one. What dance sequences would come to mind if you were talking about dance sequences?
I'd probably talk about the opening cheerleader number from Bring It On.
Oh, yeah?
Which is, like all the dance sequences in that film are pretty great.
That would not have come to
I
mind.
mean, I say dance sequences, but as we know from that film, cheerleaders are dancers who have gone retarded. So it's not really. It's not really dance. It's more cheer oriented. But you know, not chorus line. What's the other one? The Bob Fosse one.
Fame.
No. All That Jazz.
All That Jazz.
That's you're singing the song, but I'm talking about from Chicago.
Yeah.
But the one with Roy Scheider as Bob Fosse and
wasn't that All That Jazz?
It's called All That Jazz.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He did Chicago. Like he did the thing for Chicago. Yeah.
Yes. They talk about the Fosse kids in theatre camp. That movie.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I bet they do.
You've got your cliques, and one of them's the Fosse kids.
The Fosse kids. Give me a C, a bouncy C.
Well, I think the best dance sequence I can think of would be "Fit as a Fiddle" from "Singing in the Rain." You know that number that they do right at the start when they're doing vaudeville. It's phenomenal. It defies gravity.
I actually, my favorite dance sequence from Singing in the Rain is when they're doing the thing at the end when she's actually doing. Is she doing Singing in the Rain? No.
Mm-mm.
What's the song that she does at the end?
Yeah, good
where
question.
they're doing that thing with their hands.
Yeah, it's not Good Morning. It's which is the start of our show.
C sharp. Like, what key? Seashine. Yeah.
Anyway, just thought I'd
that would be good, but I mean, there's so many.
follow up on their conversation there. But even Tarantino gave us Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction dance sequences.
He certainly did.
Very good ones. Classic, iconic.
Yeah, I like it. I love a good spontaneous dance sequence
Yep.
or singing moment
Yep.
in a film. One of my favorite movies of all time is Heavenly Bodies, and even though they're technically doing aerobics, it's basically aerobicized dancing.
Well, that movie, I love that Aussie movie Girl Awake. That has a
I've never seen that.
fantastic dance sequence in it. Yeah, it's really cool.
There is a great Hal Hartley did this fantastic short film that I watched at uni with who's that guy that's in all of his movies? Martin Donovan.
Yep.
And then there's one scene where he's just, I can't remember if he's on his way to a bookshop or he's just been to a bookshop. I think he's just been to a bookshop and he's met this woman there and he's kind of had a connection. So he's walking home and he's like in a really good mood. And then just out of nowhere, they burst into, in complete silence, they do the whole West Side Story
Awesome.
dance fight
Yep.
with guys down this alley. And then it finishes and he just keeps walking home. And no, it just doesn't get talked about.
Yeah, it's just unexplained.
It's just there. And it's
Fantastic.
just so good.
I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I really do. And when it's pulled off really well, like it's like
Yeah.
a lot of energy is being put into that choreography, that makes it even better.
Yeah.
Awesome. Should we recommend movies?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. I'm going to go first, and this
Excellent.
one, I've not even got notes here. I just know what I'm going to talk about. So, how do I relate this one? So, we last week spoke to Jarrett, and we talked about Dracula. Remember?
We did talk about Dracula.
and how it's underrated, it's held up, that it's it's far better now than it probably was then.
The Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Bram Stoker's Dracula, the Francis Ford Coppola film.
The Coppola one, yep.
Yes, and then you and I saw A Haunting in Venice.
We did.
And so I thought, this is a Kenneth Branagh moment. And I went to Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
Right.
So this
With
is...
De Niro?
Yes, Robert De Niro as the monster, Kenneth Branagh as Dr. Victor Frankenstein. It's...
I saw this great meme on the internet where they're like, of course the monster's name's Frankenstein. His girlfriend is called Bride of Frankenstein. Grow a brain, idiots. And it's true.
That is true. Oh, man. But look, this, I just want to say right now, it's not a recommendation. I just want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Although I do recommend people revisit it just to make up your own minds.
I have never seen it because I've never had that much of an interest in the Frankenstein.
I love the Frankenstein lore, but
mythology.
I do think if it's not done right, it's not good at all. And
Yeah.
this one was a case of...
I mean, I have seen the original Frankenstein.
This was a case of Branagh's ego taking over, and everyone involved...
Isn't that his entire career?
Yeah, but everyone involved has said this was an unpleasant film. I think, who was it? Frank Darabont wrote it, said it's the biggest disappointment of his career. Francis Ford Coppola produced it.
I mean, he didn't write Wild Wild West, but...
But, no, of Darabont's career.
Of Darabont's career, yeah. I would say it's the biggest, his biggest disappointment of Branagh's career.
And who was it? Yeah, Francis Ford Coppola, who produced this, also said he should have directed it because he originally intended this to be the companion to Dracula.
Right.
Because it's a 3-piece.
Because he was going to make Monster Squad eventually. That's what it was all about. It was the original Dark Universe.
It was a 3-piece, so it was going to always be Dracula, Frankenstein, and Sleepy Hollow. Because Coppola produced Sleepy Hollow as well. He was going to bring all these old classic American literatures.
Sleepy Hollow is an odd one because there's no reason why that couldn't have been one of the Universal monster movies.
Yeah.
Like the story was around.
So if people don't know, that is like an unofficial trilogy, those 3 films, Dracula and Frankenstein. But anyway, Frankenstein, it's got all the right components. Like it's shot really well, and it begins like the novel did in Antarctica, which the entire opening act of this film is The Terror, that TV show.
Yeah.
Which that was another great TV show, the first season of that. But if you've seen that, then that's what the start of Frankenstein is, right? A ship stuck in the ice, and they've got to get off somehow, and they just run into Dr. Frankenstein, who's trying to get the monster as far away from civilization as possible.
Yeah.
And then it goes into, you got John Cleese in there as well. It goes into the whole him being a failed sort of scientist, and he wants to, he's someone he loves dies, and he wants to just bring people back to life. He wants to cure death.
He wants to reanimate.
He wants to cure death, and he turns to John Cleese, who's done it. And it's ruined his life, and he's warning him, like, dear boy, don't do it, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so as the classic story goes, wrong brain goes into the wrong body, and the monster is monstrous instead of being intelligent. But it's shot well, but it's a bit clunky.
Right.
But
That actually
that-
makes me. You saying that just makes me want to go and watch The Man with Two Brains again.
Oh fuck, that's great. That's a great one. But when you know about Branagh's ego really taking over this film, you can see it. Like he's in every shot, and he has to look as handsome as possible or as heroic as possible. Like it is really a Kenneth Branagh showcase.
He's such a weird guy because he is quite charismatic, and when he's good,
And I like him. That's the thing.
he's very watchable.
Yeah.
But he's also
And I look
a man whose ego has clearly derailed his career.
I have a funny feeling though, like he's probably got a lot more humility now. I think it was that 90s.
Well, the testosterone
period.
has decreased because he's gotten older.
That 90s period though, he was nothing but walking ego.
Well, I mean, I remember how big Hamlet was, the
Yeah.
3 or 5 hour Hamlet or whatever the fuck it was.
Takes ego to make that.
Remember how that was unheard of? I think it was the 3 hours.
Yeah.
You're like, Tarantino, man.
No, that was 4 hours.
Was it 4 hours?
Yeah, 4 hours.
Yeah, it's been done.
But they did 2 theatrical cuts. They did a 120-minute cut and then a 4-hour cut.
Yeah,
I
which
always-
the Astor used to play
Yeah.
on for a week on end.
I always preferred Mel Gibson's Hamlet. I just did. That was better.
I took the Richard III. I like that one.
But,
the alternate history Richard III.
But I mean, Branagh did heaps of Shakespeare stuff. He did Richard V, and he did Midsummer Night's Dream, and heaps. But my favourite Branagh film as a director was probably Pete's Friends. It's like the Big Chill British style. Had Rita Rutner in it, and
yeah, right.
It's great. Love that one.
Rita Rutner, that's a name I haven't heard in
I know.
a while.
Emma Thompson was in it when he left Emma Thompson for Helena Bonham Carter on the set of Frankenstein.
Yeah, and then she ditched him for Tim Burton.
The director of Sleepy Hollow.
And then didn't he ditched her for? Because he was going
For
out
Johnny
with,
Depp.
He was going out with Lisa Marie, the
Yeah,
one
I think
from
so. I think
Mars
so.
Attacks.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well, there we
so-
go. Oh, Tim. And Ken.
And Ken.
Anyway, so yeah, I don't recommend it. What I recommend is going for a reevaluation just to see what you think of it. Does it hold up? I think stylistically and aesthetically, it's really interesting.
Right.
Lots of slimy stuff too.
Well, gotta
So
love the as long as you're not Chloe, you love the slimy stuff.
The embryonic fluid that he sort of is birthed in. There's a whole sequence of 2 naked men just like wrestling in this slime. It's really weird.
Didn't Alan Bates and someone else do that in the?
I don't know, but anyway,
in the 60s.
That's enough on that. What have you got?
Well, look, funnily enough, you mentioned Haunting in Venice.
Yeah.
I went to see that not having seen any of those the Poirot movies. I've never been a big fan of Poirot.
Sure.
I haven't seen any of the I've tried a couple of times to get into the original.
Yep.
A Murder on the Orient Express because it's like Connery's in it.
Yeah.
And Albert Finney and stuff, but I've tried since watching this.
Yeah.
I've gone back and tried to watch it, and I make it that first 10 minutes, and I'm like, no, can't do it. But I did go back and watch the first Kenneth Branagh Poirot film,
the new trilogy,
the new Murder on the Orient Express, and I was shocked at how much I actually enjoyed it.
Yeah, right.
I mean, look, I know at the time when Agatha Christie wrote this, it was like a novel idea, and that whole basically.
Spoiler alert.
I mean, she's always done that. Was it 10 Little Indians, which it's not actually called 10 Little Indians.
Yep.
It had another name that has been retconned out of existence. With that, people in a secluded house, and they're all trapped there, and there's a murderer amongst them.
Yep.
And this is the same thing.
Yes.
It just happens to be set on the Orient Express, which I've always wanted to take.
All 3 of these films are the same thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're all locked room kind of mysteries with multiple potential. It's Murder She Wrote. It's 100%.
Look, it's interesting too because I have seen all 3 of them. I do like Haunting in Venice the most out of all of them. But as I've watched that and I've contemplated and I've thought about the whole series, I like Murder on the Orient Express now more than I did when I watched it.
Yeah.
Like, retrospect has been kind. And Death on the Nile, I was surprised how much I enjoyed that. And what I think I like the most is Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah.
His version of Poirot is funny. It's like really nuanced.
But still like totally arrogant.
Yeah,
and
the ego is through the roof.
But yet still funny.
Like, he introduces himself as probably the greatest detective in the world.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
He's modest.
I mean, I would love to see them do a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, but with the Agatha Christie characters and get Miss Marple and and they all have to have it's a mad world where they're all trying to solve a crime and it's a race.
Yep.
But, and get I mean, you couldn't do it with if you just did detectives, not just Agatha Christie ones.
Yeah.
Then you could get the Pink Panther in there and or Clouseau, not the Pink Panther, but Clouseau.
Clouseau,
in there, and
that'd be great.
Well, that'd be great. And I did watch, but just getting back to the thing, I did thoroughly enjoy Murder on the Orient Express. So if you haven't seen it, do check it out. I also, while I was away, and I think I may have mentioned this briefly on the show, but while I was in the UK. On TV, there's a new Agatha Christie series called it was a 4 or 5 part mini series type thing.
Yep.
We've got there's a fly in the building. It's the fly that landed on Dara Breen's head. If you watch Mock the Week, you'll know what I'm talking about.
It's Vincent Price.
Written by James Clavell. It is. Why Didn't They Ask Evans? Is the show. It's Will Poulter and Lucy Boynton. It's great. It's a really good series worth checking out if you're into that kind of Agatha Christie oeuvre.
Does that mean you've still got, in terms of the Kenneth Branagh stuff, you've still got Death on the Nile to go?
I still have both this and the Peter Ustinov Death on the Nile.
Yep.
Which I want to see because I've been told by certain friends of the show that is the must see and fuck the Kenneth Branagh version. So I'll watch the Kenneth Branagh version first.
Yeah, I mean the whole Kenneth Branagh trilogy is a whole different thing. Like it's just it's its own. I think he's deliberately separated them or intentionally separated them from the others and created his own thing.
That is the problem because they are based on books.
Yeah,
that you
people
kind
are precious about.
If you have seen the originals, you know who did it. Yeah. Or you know what the twist is, what the MacGuffin is.
Yeah, I think he was clever to choose the story of the Halloween party for Haunting in Venice because not a lot of people have heard of this one.
Yeah,
and it is like a soft horror film, like it's a good little Halloween movie.
Yeah, and it's Poirot debunking a haunted mansion movie.
Yeah, so fun. Anyway, cool.
And Emma Laird is in it from Mayor of.
That's
Kingstown
right.
That's
what you were going at before. So what are the odds we'd both do a Kenneth Branagh recommendation? That was not planned.
No, not at all.
Wonderful. Love it. I mean, that'll stroke his ego.
Because he's listening.
You know it.
he's got a Google alert set up every time his name gets mentioned.
How good was Dead Again? I loved it again.
I expected to love it a lot more than I actually did.
Yeah.
I did not. It did not really hit for me.
I was obsessed with that back in the day.
Mainly because I really didn't like his American accent.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
I mean, I loved Campbell Scott. I loved Emma Thompson being in it.
Yeah.
There was a lot of things to recommend it. That accent.
I love just the cross between time. The reincarnation elements of it. I love that.
I just don't know why they couldn't have just said it in the UK, considering it was mainly a UK cast.
Absolutely could have. Absolutely could. I think he was trying to become an American.
He was trying to cross over, yeah.
Alrighty, so we've hit the end of the show. Do you want to take us out, Ben, or should I?
You do it, mate.
All right, just throwing your bone.
I appreciate all bones thrown my way, but this time I'm handing it back.
Well, thank you everyone for listening. I hope you've enjoyed the conversations. You might now have some television shows to go and explore. Who knows?
So many good.
Hope you enjoyed the interview as well. Check out that movie; it's fantastic.
I didn't even talk about American-born Chinese either.
No,
it's a great show.
Part
2. Get ready for terrific TV Tuesday.
Exactly. You've got some work on your hands, mate. So, if you love the video content we put up, now is the time to go over to our social media pages because we are going to perform a dance to Goodbye Horses. You ready to tuck, Ben?
Would you fuck me? I'd fuck me.
You cannot hear this song without visualizing.
No, and I love there's that the Viking that Viking skinhead guy walking down the street, and then they put this song over it. I fucking love it. I love it.
But I mean, did the movie immortalize this song well? Like, do you think what was it? Q Lazarus was the artist.
Yeah.
Were they grateful to Silence of the Lambs for doing
Surely
this?
They were. Only Huey Lewis is enough of a dingus to get upset that his song is linked to a phenomenal scene in a horror film. I think they'd be wrapped in it.
Yeah,
They should be anyway.
I'm ready to do this.
But what's amazing is that, like, as much of a banger as this song is, there's also that it puts the lotion on its skin song, which is also a banger.
Look, both of which have had time on this show. We've played this before and we've played that before, you know.
Yeah.
But there will be maybe a second round for that one.
I'm a big fan of that meme that's going around with the little Asian girl. And they're like, if I was down the well and this song came on, this is what I'd be doing. And she's dancing to the...
All right, we'll catch you next week, everyone. Have a good one.
See ya.
I see my hopes and dreams